No one lays down the law like Car and Key. This is the Law Report on SAFM.
And a very good evening to you from tonight's Law Report program. Well, as you know, once a month here on the Law Report, we run a legal clinic trying to answer a range of questions on a number of different topics. And tonight, it's again time to open the lines for you to ask that legal question that doesn't quite fit into the other topics we discuss here on the Law Report. But tonight, we'll also be taking a look at your business and how you should be planning and acting preventatively. I'm joined once again this evening by attorney Nicoline Skuman-Low. She's the director of Skuman Law Inc., Attorneys, Conveyancers and Notaries Public, as well as by Anja Jansen van Rensburg, an associate attorney at Skuman Law Inc. Hi Nicoline, welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me.
And Anja, welcome.
Thanks for having me too.
Well, if you have any questions for us, you can call us now on 0892 10 2010, 0892 10 2010.
No one lays down the law like Car and Key. This is the Law Report on SAFM.
Right, well, as I mentioned, it's our law clinic tonight, so any questions you might have, you're welcome to call us on 0892 10 2010, except we're not doing things like labour law and property law. Those have their own shows. Anything else? But we're also going to be talking about your business tonight. We do have one email that we'll get you shortly. Before we do that, Nicoline, business, tell me, what are we talking about tonight?
Well, as a firm, we've always been geared towards trying to educate and trying to spread the word really about prevention being better than cure, particularly when it comes to your business. It's so much work, so much energy that you put into it, so much passion, and poor planning can really have devastating effects. We see it every day when we get phone calls along the lines of, my client hasn't paid me, and it's the biggest one I have, and I can't pay my bills. What do I do? And in that situation, you are left incurring legal costs in order to recoup your money that you've already worked for quite hard. And it can have a devastating effect. And there are certain things that we can implement to avoid those ramifications from the outset. In addition to that, we've recently launched something that we've always believed in as a firm, and that is called the legal goalkeeper principle or legal goalkeeper concept. And essentially, this entails an assessment that we are offering to the public to say, let us have a bit of a look at how you've structured your business. How are you incorporated? Are you correctly incorporated? Are you compliant with all the regulations that are changing every day, that are evolving? Are you up to date with all of those? I mean, it's our business to stay up to date with that. So let us take that off of your hands and let us see what you have in place, what is critical to address, what is possibly a problem, what is possibly posing a risk, and what is possibly going to end you up in court, which if we pick it up right now, we can avoid from the outset. And in addition to that, to see what is best practice, what is everyone else doing out there, what can make you more competitive because your creditors or your stakeholders will take you seriously and see, oh, but you're a professional outfit and you know what you're doing and you've got your ducks in a row, so to speak. And it will make you more competitive, particularly when you're negotiating with that stakeholder or investor that needs to see that, oh, these guys, they know what they're doing. They've got a good product or a good service. I can see the value that this can add, and, their house is in order. So there are two sides to this, really. Avoiding trouble, when we can foresee it and we can put measures in place. And secondly, to align your business, even if it's still fairly small, maybe you're small, medium, and you've already graduated through all the pain and suffering that it takes to build a business, and now you want to take it to the next level. What do you need to do that? What do we need to relook? What do we need to maybe fine-tune, really? So the concept is not really about saying that businesses are always in trouble. By no means. I think with regulation changing forever and evolving, we can only become better. And I think it's a really good value add that we could offer any client to be your external set of eyes, to maybe just look at things a little differently, improve on things that could be improved, evolve them a little, or say to you, know what, we've done your assessment and you're actually well on your way. You don't need any input and assistance. So it's not necessarily a diagnostic and thinking that there's disease in everything that we touch. It's really more to say and look at it holistically and say, let's be your external set of eyes really, and see how we can maybe correct a few things if needs be. If not, great. If there's room for improvement, then let's see how we can do that.
Now that's the positive side, but I knew you deal with when people haven't done that and they end up with the bad things.
Yes. Yeah, like Nicoline said, the prevention is better than cure, especially litigation, if you come to that aspect. Briefly, obviously, litigation involves when two parties or more go to court. They can't settle a dispute between them. They ask the court, obviously, to settle a dispute between them. And obviously, you can't always prevent all of these disputes, but essentially, civil disputes are either contract or delictual. Contract, you can mostly, obviously, if you have your ducks in a row, it's essentially that you can avoid a lot of disputes. If you have your company structures done correctly and all your boxes ticks and all the regulations complied with, you will essentially be in a much better position. And similarly, if you, let's say one of your clients are not paying, or you've got a dispute regarding one of your suppliers or one of your clients regarding services or goods that you render towards them, that if you have a contract in place, there's a lot of things that you have put out on the table, meaning it's in writing, it's not he said, she said scenario, which is a much better position to be in. And similarly, as Nicoline touched it, litigation is very, very expensive in South Africa. It's low. You get lower courts and higher courts. Lower courts not that expensive. Higher courts extremely expensive. And I don't think most individuals and most small businesses are able to afford really going the route of litigation. It can really, and I've seen it actually breaks businesses if they end up in going to court.
So it does pay to sort of try and get your ducks in a row, as you say, before this happens. I mean, not saying it's going to happen to everybody, but
No.
Every now and again you might just end up with a problem which could have been sorted out if you had everything in place.
No, I think the important part is that people often view legal services and call it compliance or contracts as something the lawyers do. And once we've had it done, we can put it in some drawer and forget about it. A contract, to a large extent, is a dynamic document, and it needs to evolve with your changed circumstances. Similarly to one's will.
Yes.
So if you have a child, then you have to update your will. If you get married, you have to update your will. So if you take in a partner, you have to update your shareholders agreement. If you take in more employees at different levels, then you have to structure those contracts appropriate to the relationship. And people forget that your contract is the summary of all the negotiations and the understandings reached between the parties. So it's really the summary of it. So you need to understand the contents. And we are very much supportive of the plain language movement.
Oh, yes.
So that we can produce contracts that are those summaries and that clients can understand. And if they can understand it, they can live it. And if they can live it, then we can limit disputes, because people know, okay, we agreed to this, or we didn't agree to that. So this is acceptable behavior and actions, and that is not. And to a certain degree, that could be a deterrent, and that could prevent all the negative aspects of litigation.
As part of all of this, would it also include things like your BEE scoring and that sort of thing as well? Because that's also all the new regulations that have come out. I mean, they're quite complicated in some cases. It would be nice to get quite a sort of a clear understanding of exactly where your company lies within that.
Definitely. The assessment that we offer is completely holistic. So it looks at your company registration. It looks at your constitution documents, your founding documents. So in a company setting, your MOI, your shareholders agreement. We look at your HR policies, your data protection policies, which is also quite topical with POPI being around and being implemented and effective. So in addition to BEE, many businesses are not really aware of what their status is and how to address it if it needs to be done.
We've had a caller in wanting to talk about a criminal case. Not something that you want to deal with, or are you quite happy to deal with, or not?
Not really my area of expertise.
We will be having William Booth on in the next couple of weeks, so maybe just keep his name and number and we'll call him back when that show happens. Before we continue, let's just get a hold of Pumezo, who sent us an email. And if you have any questions for us to do with your business or to do with anything, else to do with the law, 0892 10 2010, 0892 10 2010. Pumezo says, I'm looking for a solution to this problem. My late uncle owned an RDP house. He had no children and made no will regarding the house. As an old man, he dated a woman who owned her own RDP house. After my uncle passed away, the lady claimed the house from the family, although she was never married to my uncle nor permanently resided with him in his house. She refuses all the documents, to give us all the documents, I would imagine, the ID, the death certificate, including the house. I want to know which channels I can go to claim the house back legally. She brainwashes the local police that she's entitled to the house because she dated my uncle. Most of my family elders who come after my uncle don't have any shelter. Please help. Now, obviously, she's got her own house. She's got no right, I would imagine, to his house.
No. If there's no marital relationship, there's no legal right in terms of intestate succession or in terms of the marital property regime concerned. So, first thing that struck me about this question is that this estate has clearly not been reported to the master, or I assume it hasn't. And that, in my view, would be the first step that this listener needs to take. You need to go to the master's office, which in that side of the world I would imagine to be in Grahamstown, and report this estate, get it registered, and once the executor has been appointed, then you can start the process of what I would imagine to be an eviction from this property. And then to once you have retained possession again, or regained rather possession of the property again, then you can deal with the administration process.
Because dating doesn't entitle her to the house.
Totally not.
No.
And if she wants to make such a claim, it needs to be processed through a court of law, and she needs to state her case on what grounds that she would be entitled to this property, if there was some agreement between them, if there's a will that she can produce.
Well, he says there was no will.
Yeah, so again, if she manages to produce such a document, I would advise them further to definitely investigate the authenticity of the document.
Now, she's sitting with the uncle's ID and the death certificate and all sorts of things and won't give it to them.
Well, you don't really need the ID if the burial has already been dealt with, or cremation, as the case may be. It's really an endorsement that Home Affairs makes in the ID to indicate that the person is now deceased. When it comes to the death certificate, if the death has been reported, and I imagine if the body has been buried or cremated, as the case may be, a death certificate would already have been issued, or by any of the medical practitioners who would have treated the deceased and called it as.
Can they get a duplicate one?
Yes, at any
Home
Affairs.
Home Affairs. They would
Yes.
just go and apply for that.
And all they need is his ID number.
Well, they probably don't have that because she's got the ID book.
And full names. So maybe one of the other heirs or family members would have the ID number, maybe a birth certificate somewhere. You could. There are ways of getting the information in other means.
But from the information given here, this lady has no claim to the house.
No, not
all.
from the information. Yeah, I mean, if she feels she has a claim, she needs to take this matter to court, and she needs to prove her claim. But from the information we have, I don't see any legal basis for a claim. There needs to have been a marital relationship, or what we call a cohabitation agreement. In other words, a contract wherein he agreed to certain a duty of support or some form of maintenance that she would be entitled to, and on that basis she could then claim the property. But even that it's very, very hard to prove.
Considering she does own her own RDP house already.
Completely. And we don't even know how long this relationship endured, if it was a fairly short relationship. There are too many questions in this, but let's keep it simple, based on the facts that we do have. There's no marital relationship, and if there's no marital relationship, then there's no legal entitlement. If he did die without a will, then she's not the spouse. She doesn't have a legal entitlement in terms of the Intestate Succession Act. But they need to get this estate reported as soon as possible with the masters, and they would need that death certificate in order to do so.
Okay,
so you need
Pameza, you need to get to the master's office. You would say in Grahamstown,
I would
because
say
he says he's in East London. So
first things first, you'll have to get the ID number so that you can go to the local Home Affairs. Get a copy of the death certificate. As far as I'm aware, you fill in a form and you wait for the printout. It's not such a long-winded process as it used to be anymore. Once you have that document in hand, then you go to the master's office, report the estate, get appointed as an executor or as a master's representative if it's a smaller estate, smaller being lower than 125,000, and then start the process. Hopefully, a letter or a request to vacate will do the trick, as they say. If not, maybe it's time to brief an attorney to get the eviction process going.
Now, as he mentioned here in the very beginning, that his uncle died without having made a will, and I just wanted to say what a wonderful response we had to Wills Week, and the number of people who requested to find out where the nearest attorneys to them were. And then I got a number of emails after that saying, thank you very much, we've been off and got our wills done. So to all of you out there who went out and did that, well done. Makes my heart very glad that a whole lot more of you now have got a will, because I was getting quite stressed. I always get very stressed if people don't have a will. So thank you very much for going out and doing that and making me feel a whole lot calmer about all of that, because that's Nicoline's favourite topic, is going out and getting a will and antenuptial contract, the two things that you always say you have to have.
Oh, definitely. I think there are many have-to-haves in life,
Yes.
but those are absolutely crucial. It's the will, in my view, is the summary of the legacy that you leave behind, the footprint you've left on the world. It's encapsulated in that document. Antenuptial contract, call it the compass of your life with your partner once you say your vows.
Now, that's the other thing. You've mentioned it before about the will and business, and how important it is to have a will, especially if you own a business. So just talk to people about that, how important that is.
Well, it's very important to have a will, regardless if you have a business or not. But when you do have a business, it's very important to ensure that you have thought about what is going to happen to your business if you are no longer around, particularly when your business is still very young or very small and you're the only owner, in other words, in company language, only shareholder, maybe even the only director. So who is going to operate the banking account, pay the staff salaries? One needs to think of those practicalities, really. And is it a case of let's wrap everything up and call it a day? Or is it a case of I've built this, I've had this concept, this idea that I've put so much passion and energy into, and who's going to take this over from me? Have you thought of someone you can groom maybe to take over, someone who would carry it on the same value basis that you would, the same ethics and values? So I think those are very deep questions, and if you do have a business, even if it's still fairly young, it's something you need to think about, particularly when you're still, the one with the multiple hats of making sure everything runs smoothly and all of that.
Would this be something that you would include in your business plan for people as well?
Definitely. We refer to it as business continuity planning or succession planning. There's an interesting distinction between the two. One involves literally the managerial handover. So in your bigger structures, you'll get the next CEO groomed out of the ranks, and you'll have a plan A, a B, a C, and a D in different levels. And secondly, the practicalities. If something bad happens to the decision maker, where are the passwords? Where are the logins? Where do I find the keys to the safe? Those things that can bring a business completely to a standstill if they are left unattended to.
Right, well, we have a caller on the line. Michael in Pietermaritzburg, good evening.
Good evening to you.
How can we help you,
Hello?
Michael? Hi, yes, how can we help you?
Yes, yeah, please. I'm a man of 72 years of age, and up until recently, I've had a little business going, and I've been okay. And then a couple of months ago, I was diagnosed as terminally ill. I've got a bad illness, so I won't go into that. Okay, now, My problem is that I had a credit card with a bank. Hello?
Yes, we're listening,
Yes.
Michael.
And they are really just putting me around now, you see, because now I've lost because of the business, I've lost about 90% of my income. I've had to go and apply for state's pension, the state's pension.
Mm-hmm.
I'm living in an old age home. My situation's changed now. What can I do legally? I do want to try and pay some of this money back. It's not a huge amount. It's about, it's 18,000, somewhere around about there. Now, I do want to pay it back, but they like making demands on me of 2,000 Rand a month, and I don't know what all and this and that, which I can't manage.
Well, first and foremost, it's I think the whole structure of our program tonight is about prevention and being better than cure. There are a number of insurance products out there that could assist with this situation, but there are various factors we need to take into consideration. Now, a credit card debt is usually, unlike any other type of debt, not secured by way of insurance policy should something happen to you, or if there's an untimely passing. So my advice would be to try and make arrangements with them. I don't know if it's gone further, that it's actually been handed over.
No, not to that stage. I've managed to keep on paying. Like, I've been trying to pay up 2,000 Rand and things like that. I've tried to keep my head above water, but I realize that I cannot continue in this vein. Basically, is there any way, surely, if I'm paying, even if I make a ridiculous offer of, say, 200 Rand a month, surely it's got to be accepted and they've got to look into the matter. You see, if it wasn't for my illness, it wouldn't be like this.
No, of course, I completely understand that. It's a terrible situation you find yourself in. I'm terribly sorry to hear about it. There are options, but they are so invasive. So we always recommend to clients, try and make arrangements, and even if it's a fairly low amount, just stick to the arrangement. And if you could afford a little more, put all of that towards this. We can start talking about debt counseling. We can even start talking about, liquidations. But that is really very invasive given your current situation. I wouldn't recommend going such a drastic route. I would simply just make an arrangement, and if you need an attorney, rather or need someone to assist you, rather hire someone who can liaise with them and make the arrangement and put it to writing, maybe in the form of an acknowledgement of debt of some sorts or something like that. Otherwise, it becomes very invasive.
Yes, I'm sure it does. You see, the thing is, I've tried to discuss this and put this across. Then you get a different person every time, and I know that they record these things, but there's some ridiculous situations. Like the one guy was telling me they can charge me 1,000 Rand a day, which it's nonsense. I mean, no one can charge you 1,000 Rand a day, not on that money.
No, sure, definitely not.
So it's just a whole lot of nonsense. Would you think that perhaps I must try and get hold of one of their top people and speak to them honestly and just tell them, what's really happened, and what I'd like to do is, I would like to pay them the amount back or whatever.
Yes, I agree. The thing is, as long as you make an agreement with them and just stick to your agreement, for them, it's essentially they want the money. If they can receive a payment, they will be happy. As soon as you start defaulting with a payment, then obviously they will probably hand you over.
I follow that. You see that amount now is just too high for me. Before, when I had the business going, it would have been easy. But
just be very honest with them and tell them, this is your income and this is your expenses and this is the amount that you can pay. It's not that you don't want to pay, and make that very clear to them. It's that you want to pay, but you can't afford the high amount that they are requesting.
Okay, thank you very, very much for your help. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Michael, Michael, I think as you mentioned yourself, I think the higher up you go, probably the better.
Yes.
And ask to speak to somebody who's going to, the same person every time, because otherwise you have to keep on repeating yourself, and you're not going to really,
That's right. And then, they say, right, like, it worked out, like, for argument's sake, the dates that I had to make the payment is like the end of the month. Now, it's been changed again to the 12th, which I said, it's impossible. I cannot do it at all. Anyway, thank you so much.
Well, good luck to you, Michael, and I'm so sorry to hear of your illness, and I hope you are doing well, and I hope you can sort this out with the bank. It's enough to give you a headache, I'm sure.
Indeed, it's quite a blow. But anyway, thank you very much.
Good luck.
Thank you
Good
very
luck
much.
to you, Michael.
Lovely program.
Thank
Bye-bye
you.
now.
Thanks. Bye-bye
Bye.
now. If you have any questions, 0892 10 2010, 0892 10 2010. As you were saying, Anya, as long as you, you say, look, I do want to pay this back, and you don't default, the bank should be quite happy to receive anything. I mean, this is going for people who are wanting to pay off debt. I mean, as long as you are willing to pay, I'm sure the bank should be happy to do that.
When I was my previous work employed on one of the bank's panels, and if the clients make proper arrangements with the banks, they are very lenient. They essentially want payment. They don't want to take your house or get judgment against you and on their side also incur legal fees. They just simply just want you to adhere to the agreement.
It's more effort for them,
It is more effort
to have to go through all that.
Yeah.
So make it a lot easier. But I mean, shame. It sounds like he's been trying and not getting very far, and they keep changing the goalposts here.
Some debt collectors are a bit ruthless.
Well, I don't know if that's the debt collector, but it sounds like it's just the bank from what it hasn't been
of
handed
them.
over yet. So, it seems to just be that. But getting back to businesses now, it's one of those very difficult places to be if you're not quite sure what you're doing, because there are a lot of pitfalls, I think, if you're not too clued up.
I personally think, and I speak from personal experience. I mean, when I was in earlier than my mid-20s when I started the practice, and even though there's a lot of excitement and passion going through your mind and flowing through your veins, so to speak, you are quite overwhelmed. And particularly if you're going at it alone, it's a very lonely place. So when you need advice on a financial decision, you do struggle through it, and you try and empower yourself and educate yourself, but it becomes so time consuming to be a master of everything, and then maybe not focusing on your core focus as much as you should have. So something tends to fall on the floor, as they say. The pop falls on the floor. And, it's something that you could maybe even juggle a little when you just start out. But the more you grow and the more the business grows and the more demanding it becomes, your time becomes less and less and less. And you quickly find yourself either completely sort of shutting down in terms of, oh no, I don't know how this works, I don't have time, I'm not going to deal with it now. And that is really when nonsense starts to happen and the wheels start falling off, and these little issues start becoming adding up and becoming mountains instead of mole heaps. So whether it's financial or tax or whatever, it's really important in my view. And if I can impart one lesson personally that I've learned, is surround yourself with trusted advisors that you can rely on, whose business it is to keep updated with all these developments all the time. And
the other thing
care
I think
enough about you to say, listen, this just happened. Do you have this in place? Have you thought about it? How are you going to integrate this? Someone who wants to take the journey with you, not just sees you as a number. You need to find that special team of professionals that care about you and care about your business as much as you do.
But I think a lot of the time as well, when you're starting off, you think, well, it's going to cost me a bit of money, so I'll just try and do this myself and I'll see how far I get. And, it's going to be quite costly to appoint all these different professionals to help me. And that, I think, possibly is where a lot of people come unstuck in the beginning, is because they are trying to go it alone because they're trying to save money. But in the long run, it's probably going to end up costing them more.
Yeah.
Oh, totally.
I fairly agree. I mean, I see this on an everyday occurrence, that client comes in. And I tell them, but why didn't you just go to an attorney when you started a business? You could have preempted this dispute a long time ago. Now we're going to litigation route, and you're spending way much more trying to end the dispute or settle the dispute than prevention would have
as
cost
we said
you
in the
much
beginning.
less.
So that little bit of extra money that you might just have to put into the startup, prepare yourself for a little bit of extra just for that kind of expense at the start, is going to save you money in the long run.
It's an investment really that you make. And I think what I just want to add to what Anya said, people underestimate the gravity, and let's be very clear, some disputes cannot be preempted. Some disputes cannot be avoided. Sometimes things just happen. Life just happens. And when that does, then fair enough, you go through the process and we deal with it as best we can, as practically and economically as we can. Or at least that's our approach. But the fact is, people underestimate the gravity of the emotional impact litigation has on them. And I don't think you fully understand it until you're there. It's something we see, it pains us to say, something we see every day when a client is in the midst, but I'm right, and I didn't say this, and I didn't mean it like that, and that's not what we agreed. It upsets them where it becomes something that they think about all the time, that absolutely starts to engulf their entire being, which means instead of thinking, okay, this product or service is working really well, how can we expand on that? How can we become more profitable? You're thinking about, but I'm right and you are wrong, and this grieves me and it's hurt my feelings and all these emotions that go with it. And people really underestimate the impact that has. It's not just about the attorney's bill. It's a much larger cost to your business. It actually puts everything on it pauses everything. It presses the pause button until the dispute has been resolved.
And as you said, unfortunately, that could happen anyway, whether you've preempted it or not. I mean, it could just be something that pops up.
Yeah, life happens, but I think at the end of the day, we need to draw a distinction between something that happens unforeseen, you couldn't have planned, it just happened, and you need to deal with it. And my personal belief is that those type of disputes, they need to be dealt with in either an alternative dispute resolution forum, whether it's mediation or arbitration, or through the courts. If it's a legal question that needs legal guidance and interpretation, or there's some grey area, that belongs in the courts. Everything else, explore your options, see what works best.
Right, we've got another caller on the line. Sipho in Cape Town. Good evening. Hello, Sipho. Hello, Sipho. Hello. Yes, we can hear you. Good evening.
Good evening, ma'am. How are you?
Very well, and you?
I'm fine, thanks, ma'am.
How can we help you, Sipho?
I just needed to find out, is there any, if this thing of fronting, is it illegal or in that case?
You're wanting to know if fronting is illegal?
Yes, it's permissible or not.
I'm assuming it's very illegal.
It is very illegal. It's actually got not only a fine attached to it, but also a prison term. I'm not sure on the amount of the fine. It's turnover based, I can tell you that, and the minimum is over $1 million if memory serves me correctly. But if you want to know exactly what the penalties are, we can take your details and I can get that through to you in the morning. But it's very illegal.
Have you come across that now, Sipho?
Yes, I've been a victim of that for quite some time.
So are they using you to front?
I've been used like that sort and dumped up away after that.
And then dumped away after they didn't need you anymore?
Yeah, no, not anymore now.
So they used you, and then what happened? Did they fire you?
Yes, they fired me, yeah. Without any package or anything. When I come in the morning, they just told me this is now a private property. I'm not allowed to enter anymore there. So it was over with me. I've tried some legal elections, reactions and all that, but only to find that all those people, they failed me and end up on the 9th of August. It was a Women's Day. I met with a woman lawyer in Orange Free State in Welkom, who took even that agreement of association, saying that because it's a holiday, I must leave it so that we can make some copies. And after that, it couldn't be found.
So then they lost it?
Yes. Whenever I go there, I call the chairman to make an appointment. I did that when I'm about 5 kilometers all the way from Jersey to there. And then they called me to tell me that, no, he's got some emergency meeting to attend in Kimberley. every time, there was a time where they told me that he's not there, and only to find that I'm hanging around for a while, and she thought maybe I'm gone. She just come across passing me, thought I'm gone, and then when I approached her, she apologized and give me a week, something like that. I was very busy and all that time, and then after that I couldn't find it until now.
That's horrible. It doesn't sound
right at all.
No, definitely not. I think you need to definitely get some legal advice and to take the matter forward. Could I
suggest, Sipho, can you possibly send me an email?
Yeah, I'll do that in the morning.
Okay, if you can. No, okay, but
sorry?
No, if you can drop me an email to law@safm.co.za.
I'll just write it down. To the law.
It's law@safm. Law@safm.
Double S.
No, law, and then I tell you what, we've got your cell phone number. I will SMS you the email address.
Okay.
Okay.
My number is 0.
No, don't give it out on air. We've got the number, and then I will SMS you the email address, and then what I will do is I will pass it on to Michael Bagram. He's a labor lawyer, and let me tell him and if you can just possibly drop me a mail with some of the information on it, and I will pass it on to him.
Well, that would be great because I've been going still have to post it.
Okay.
I ran out of money, so
okay.
Just over with me.
Okay, this line has gone very bad, Sipho. I will SMS you that email address, and then you can drop me an email, and then we'll hopefully try and pass it on to somebody who can give you some advice. But that just sounds that's not right by a long shot.
Procedurally and based on what we say call substantive fairness, the merits, it doesn't sound right. And if there's been a shareholding or cooperation or joint venture agreement of sorts, then of course the issue of fronting.
I like the part about them, hand me in your documents, I'll get back to you, but it's a holiday, and then after the holiday they accidentally just lost them. The whole thing just sounds a little bit fishy, to be honest.
Oh goodness, I hope he gets it sorted.
Yeah, absolutely. Timber in Brits, good evening.
Evening, ma'am. How are you?
Very well, and you? How can we help you?
Yes. I bought a house 3-4 years ago. It was something, when I came in, I was told that it is a complex. But initially when I moved in, there was no mention of a complex. And I never signed any forms that indicate that I was now coming to a residence that is within a complex. 3-4 months later, these guys that I found there in the complex, they started sending me handwritten letters that I should pay the complex monthly fee, which I refused to pay. I said, but I signed no contract for the complex. They showed me documents where I signed. Then, that was it. Then I said, all right, for me, maybe to contribute something, because you say you are paying, show me your bank statements so that I know that the 250 I'll be paying every month, where does it go to? They refused to show me that. I since refused to pay. I have not paid to date, 3 years down the line. And every time I still get letters that I'll be taken to court, those kind of things.
The problem is, let me start off with this. If this is not resolved, the day that you wish to sell this property, you'll have to pay that amount.
That's
in order to get what we call a levy clearance certificate, which we need as conveyancers in order to transfer your property. So this is something you really do need to get resolved sooner rather than later. The amount is just going to get bigger and bigger. You would have to look at your deed of sale that you would have signed to purchase the property. And by law, you have to sign one of those documents, either through an estate agent or privately with the owner of the property. So maybe take that document, if you can retrieve it, to an attorney who can take you through it and explain how this works. But it would have had to be disclosed in that deed of sale. There's no two ways about that. As for seeing what your money is doing, body corporates or complexes, the governing body of a complex, they have meetings on an annual basis. So you should get a notice as an owner to attend their AGM. And at the AGM, they discuss the last year's financial statements. show you what they've done with all the contributions received from all the owners, and they also give you a budget in terms of what they intend to do in the coming year. So that's where all the information will be communicated to you, and it's regulated to happen that way by law. They are not obligated to share bank statements with you.
Have you ever been given a notification to go to an AGM?
No, I've never got anything. When there's a meeting, there's just a group of guys calling themselves, standing at the corner discussing, and that is it.
Oh, so the trustees meet themselves, but not, you don't have an AGM. Is it a small complex? How many units?
There's about 7 houses.
Okay, so then that would make sense why it's so little. I would recommend that you find out who the managing agent is. It's usually someone, I don't want to mention names on air, but it's usually it's a property agent who deals with sectional title. And they are the ones that send you your levy account. They are the ones that can give you any financial statements for the last year of the complex, the budget. All of those documents are with the managing agents.
And I think this is where the really point is, because in this case, I pay the house directly with the municipality. I've got a title deed to the house.
But remember, it's separate. You pay your rates and taxes and utilities, your water. Sometimes water is included in your levies, but not always. And you also pay your electricity directly to council, in other words, the municipality, and your levy is to maintain the outside of your property, to make sure it's kept in a nice, tidy state, that your gardens are well looked after, and those kind of things. So it's two separate
those
issues.
Services are not there. I do my own. Everybody does his own.
Well, then
for common property.
But then the only alternative, if you are dissatisfied, is to call for it to go to arbitration. But bear in mind, until the sectional title ombud structure comes into place, it's not a free process.
I think maybe your starting point, Temba, is to have a look at that deed of sale that you signed.
Yes. And if you need to get an attorney to have a look at it, that would be a good starting point, just so that they can take you through all of it, and maybe also go through what sectional title is supposed to do and supposed to work. Just do yourself a favor and Google sectional title in South Africa. There's a lot of really helpful material on the internet.
All right, I'll definitely do that.
Good luck to you.
Good luck, Temba.
All right, ma'am. Thank you so much for the nice program.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye. But, I mean, he sounded like he'd never heard about the levy, so maybe it was never mentioned to him, or maybe there isn't something in. I mean, there's 7 houses, he says. It's not a.
But you see, sectional title can take many forms. It can be in what we commonly refer to as estates or golf estates,
they have
security
homeowners associations as opposed to.
It could have that, or it could be sectional title as we understand it. But it's really a case of he needs to look at that title deed. Well, the deed of sale, and then secondly, the title deed will give him a good indication.
To see exactly what it says.
To see what it says. And also the agent who sold the property to you should advise you of the potential levy that you'll be paying.
Absolutely.
Together with your rates and taxes and all these other costs that you need in order to form an informed opinion of whether or not you want to invest.
Right, Lungisa in Umtato, good evening.
Hi, good evening to you, ma'am.
Hello, how can we help you?
Hi there. You actually alluded to an area which a friend of mine is experiencing currently. And the scenario is that his younger brother passed away not so long ago and had a construction company.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, and had a construction company which had contracts awarded to. And it was a sudden death. He was 100%. Now, of course, on his death, it seems that legally everyone is quick to want to wrap the estate up, and of course what he's trying to do is to at least push the company forward so that it operates, to at least not lose the contract that it's got, and this seems to be quite difficult because everyone seems to be focused on more wrapping the estate up on his death in terms of the legal jargon that goes with it. And of course, this guy was a 100% owner. What steps could he take on such a matter?
Well, the whole program today is about prevention being better than cure.
Yes.
And step one would have been a will to direct what happens to the business, to have had a contingency plan, in other words, a succession plan, maybe someone of senior management or one of the senior employees that could at least take charge of the situation to finish some of the contracts to an acceptable degree.
But was there a will, Ngisa?
No, there wasn't.
Oh, there wasn't. Okay.
Yeah, so it's almost like trying to push. So because definitely there was no provision. So in this bad state as it is now, what could the bigger brother do to try and push and get continuity?
Well, it depends on who has the skill set to take this forward. The luxury that you have, or the advantage, rather, better word, that you have when you set up a will is that you can select who would be your executor. And if you have a business, then you can pick someone who knows or has the skill set to manage your business, wrap it up if that is your wish, or to hand over the reins, so to speak, to whoever needs to take over. If that hasn't been done, then it's really a matter of the family selecting someone who has the skill set and who's able to concentrate on going into that business, running it to a degree that at least the contracts it currently has are seen through.
Who is the executor of the estate? Do you know?
I'm not 100% sure, but I mean, as I said, the older brother is family, but I think that's they're trying to get things like signing power, etc., which seems to be a difficulty just to get as I said, for continuity, and at the same time, of course, they are losing contracts because people are saying, well, this guy was 100%, therefore he's not there, therefore we should cancel these contracts.
That's a sad situation, but the only thing you can do is really to get someone to take responsibility for the business, preferably someone who knows about the industry. And as we know, in the construction industry, there are very specific regulations dealing with the quality and all of those things.
But he's got at least that. I think the question is that legally, how does this person who's now been put forward by the family is able to take over when there is no will? No, it's what I'm saying.
The executor, once appointed, can delegate some of the powers. In other words, give someone power of attorney to deal with those matters. Or they can deal with it themselves. But if you don't have the skill set to deal with a particular business as an executor, I would imagine and advise that it's the more responsible thing to do to hire someone in who does have the experience.
Yeah, and I think that's really the plan, to get somebody they've got people who've got the experience.
And
it's
just make
the
sure.
legalities of transferring over from the dead brother basically to this one, because there was no
you'll have to. Sorry for interrupting you, but you'll have to look at the legalities in terms of are any of the contracts dependent on him being the owner? The now deceased. You'll have to look at that as well, because then those contracts will go elsewhere and you won't be able to do anything about it. And whoever you put in that position, let's be very clear, that person doesn't become the owner. They are the manager to see these contracts to a close. And you'll have to work out some remuneration package so that you can keep them accountable and work in some T's and C's, so that they can't just take over and, not deal with things correctly or responsibly. It will have to be something done professionally. You'll have to get an attorney to do the contract, in other words.
So who becomes the automatic executor in a case where there is no written will? If I started a company and it goes, and I haven't actually prepared for such an event, who becomes the executor?
The next of kin selects the executor.
Oh, okay.
So the heirs, essentially, in terms of intestate succession. So wife, children, siblings, if there are no wife and children, and so forth.
So that exactly in a case like that. So, but that would take a while, right?
Yes.
I mean, that could take a month, 2 months, 3 months.
But if you would brief an attorney, they could make a case at the Master's Office for a speedy registration.
It's at the Master's Office right now, yes.
To appoint the executor on an urgent basis so that the business doesn't fail.
Okay.
Good luck, eh?
Lungisa, I have to ask you one question before you go. After listening to the troubles and the problems that your friends are having, I do hope you have a will.
To be very honest, hearing this and seeing what has just happened, I've got a business myself. I am 100%. I will certainly look into this.
Tomorrow, Lungisa.
As soon as tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Thanks for the great show.
Okay,
really.
Thanks so much for the call.
All right.
Good night to you. Bye-bye. Right, our last caller for the evening, Nora in Johannesburg. Good evening.
Good evening.
Hello, Nora. Are you there?
Yes, I'm all right. I'm working in the Department of Health.
Yes.
Yes, I've been stopped from working and promised that they want to renew my contract. They didn't do that. Instead, I was told to leave until my contract is renewed. Nothing done. I followed all the internal structures from the lowest up to the highest, except the one which is Dr. Mutwaledi one now. I've texted Dr. Mutwaledi, and then I visited Dr. Mutwaledi on the 9th of September. I'm barred from seeing him. So I want to know, how can you help me, please?
Well, if you followed all the internal structures,
all the internal structures hierarchically, from the lowest up to the highest, NEC, Premier, you name them. Public Service Commissioner, they are sending me from pillar to post. But I'm only left now with Dr. Mutwaledi. I've sent faxes to Dr. Mutwaledi. There's the acknowledgement, there's a proof that they've received it. But no, now they are preventing me from making an appointment to see him as my final highest in the Department of Health. I still want to see him before I take another step legally or taking another avenues.
Well, this sounds to me that if you've exhausted all the internal processes, it's time for you to hire an attorney and to take the process further, hopefully internally, and to resolve it fairly peacefully. Otherwise, your only recourse would be to approach either one of the ombud structures, or then or to go through the CCMA and the labour side, or civil court, depending on the contents of the contract and how it's been structured.
You know what happened? Even the very contract, I was re-employed. I'm a re-employed nursing sister doing doctor's work, primary health care. I was re-employed in 2000. I never had any contract, 2001. I followed all the internal structures for that contract. It was never done until they only made me one contract in 2012. That contract, again, it was never renewed. I continued working because they continued to pay me.
Nora, I'm afraid we've run out of time. But as Nicolene says, the only other thing now is possibly to approach an attorney and take it from there and just see what they have to say. Take it off to the CCMA, possibly. Well, my thanks once again this evening to Nicolene Skuman-Low. She's the director of Skuman Law Inc., attorneys, conveyancers and notaries public, practicing here in Cape Town, and associate attorney Anya Janssen van Rensburg, also practicing with Skuman Law Inc. And they've been my guests on tonight's edition of the Law Report program. And Nicolene will be back with us again for another law clinic on Monday, the 9th of November. Anya and Nicolene, thank you very much indeed for joining us this evening.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thanks.
The Law Report, as you all know by now, is on the air on SAFM every Monday evening between 9 and 10. And reminder, there's a list of documents on the Facebook page, Law on SAFM. You can also email me, law@safm.co.za.